Action potential is the way neurons communicate with one another and it acts in all or nothing manner. It leads neuron A to release a chemical neurotransmitter at the connection between the two neurons called synapse. Action potential is so important in carrying messages from the brain to a certain muscle to cause a response or movement. Using the movie entitled She Saw That, action potential will be further discussed. Further, personal experience and even social interaction are likely involved in the action potential as action potential are the result of stimuli. For better understanding, the movie is about Zach who is the envy of his classmate and the hotshot in high school. But when his cheerleading girlfriend Taylor leaves him unscrupulous reality TV, Brock Hudson, his popularity nosedives quickly. Siler accepts to take apparently possible undertaking in an effort to restore his tarnished reputation. He has 6 weeks to win over. Nerdy outcast Lainey Boggs trusts and guide her toward becoming the next prom king or queen at the school.
As we all know, neurons are the building blocks of the nervous system. Its main purpose is to receive and transmit information. This is because neurons are in charge of converting information into electrical signals in order to carry it in different parts of the brain. As a matter of fact, the brain consists of 86 billion neurons, in which they communicate through the form of electrochemical signals, which is caused by electrical gradients and diffusion gradients. This is quite connected with the two main ion pumps of a neuron, which we call sodium-potassium pumps and calcium pumps. These pumps spend energy currency called ATP, in which they let out sodium ions from inside the cell while simultaneously bringing in fewer potassium ions. All these are performed to maintain the resting potential of a neuron, which is 70 millivolts. Scrutinizing further, each neuron is made up of 3 major parts, which is the dendrites, the axon, and the cell body. Each part has its own significance. For example, dendrites receive information and is in charge of transmitting the said information to the axon. Moreover, dendrites have structures we call dendritic tree in which could determine the amount of development you have required. On the other hand, axons are connected to the dendrites due to its tip, otherwise known as the terminal button. Axons are also wrapped in myelin sheath, for this acts as an insulator which causes the neural process of an axon to speed up. However, the main purpose of an axon is to transmit information to the cell body. The cell body is what we call the soma, in which it contains the nucleus, therefore it is what keeps the cell alive. In addition to that, the brain consists of another set of significant parts which are known as organelles. Another is the 3 main types of neurons, which are the sensory neurons, connector neurons, and motor neurons. These 3 are interrelated to each other, which basically explains the reason as to how we are able to perform certain actions or activities.
In the context of the movie She Saw That, it is possible that the character's behavior and emotions are influenced by the balance of excitatory and inhibitory activity in their brains. The brain responds to excitatory and inhibitory signals in complex ways that depends on the specific neural circuitry involved and the pattern of activity in those circuits. When excitatory neurons release neurotransmitters that stimulates other neurons, it can trigger a cascade of activity that leads to the transmission of information throughout the brain. This can result in the perception of sensory information, the formation of memories, the initiation of movement, and the other cognitive and behavioral processes. On the other hand, when inhibitory neurons release neurotransmitters that suppress the firing of other neurons, it can help to control and regulate the activity in neural circuits. This can be important for preventing overexcitation and preventing unwanted movements or behaviors. The balance between excitatory and inhibitory activity in the brain is crucial for maintaining normal brain function. For example, too much excitatory activity can lead to seizures and other neurological disorder, while too much inhibition can result in cognitive and behavioral deficits.
Action potential is a sequence of rapidly occurring events that decreases and reverse the membrane potential and then eventually restore it to the resting state. In a neuron, an action potential is called nerve impulse. A nerve impulse has 2 main phases, depolarizing phase and repolarizing phase. During the depolarizing phase, the negative membrane potential becomes less negative, reaches 0, and then become positive. During repolarizing phase, the membrane potential is restored to the resting state. Synapse. Synapse is a region where communication occurs between two neuron or between a neuron and effector cell, muscular cell or granular cell. The term presynaptic neuron refers to a nerve cell that carries a nerve impulse toward a synapse. It is the cell that sends signal. Postsynaptic neuron carries a nerve impulse away from the synapse or an effector cell that respond to the impulse of the synapse. Most synapses between neuron are axodendritic from axon to dendrite, while others are axosomatic from axon to cell body or axo-axonal from axon to axon. In addition, synapses may be electrical or chemical, and they differ both structurally and functionally. At an electrical synapse, action potentials conduct directly between plasma membrane of adjacent neuron through structure called gap junctions. Chemical synapse, although the plasma membrane of presynaptic and postsynaptic neuron are close, they are separated by synaptic cleft.
In the movie She's All That, we see how the brains of Zack and Lainey respond to their experiences and interaction with each other. Zack initially functioned from a more superficial and status-driven perspective, as he is focused on winning the bet and maintaining his popular reputation. However, as he spent more time with Lainey and get to know her better, his brain began to shift to a more empathic and emotionally intelligent mode. He started to see beyond the surface level, appearance, and status, and begin to value the genuine connection and compatibility he felt with Lainey. This shift in his brain function is reflected in his action, as he began to prioritize his relationship with Lainey over his social status. Lainey, on the other hand, functioned from a more introspective and analytical perspective. She is aware of social dynamic and pressure of high school, but chooses to prioritize her own values and interests over fitting in. As she interacts with Zack and become more emotionally engaged with him, her brain shifts to a more open and vulnerable mode. She begins to let down her guard and allow herself to be seen and appreciated by someone who values her for who she truly is. This shift in his brain function is reflected in her willingness to take risks and explore new experiences with Zack. The movie shows how the brains of Zack and Lainey are influenced by their experiences and interaction, and how they are capable of changing and growth as they learn from each other. In the case of Zack and Lainey, the complex interactions between various regions of their brain and their personal experiences, upbringing, and social context likely involve a multitude of action potential, dendritic spines, and synapses that are constantly changing in strength and structure based on their experiences and input they receive from the outside world.
So aside from the behaviors and actions of the cast, we also found another way to connect our topic to the movie. May nakita ko somewhere online na ang neurons and human beings are similar in terms of communication. Kung ang tao ay nakikipag-communicate through body language and words, ang neurons naman ay through electrochemical signals. And in order for an action potential to take place, kailangan ng stimulus. And ang stimulus based on the movie is yung breakup ni Taylor and Zack. Then, nung na-receive ng brain cell ang stimulus, magsisend ito ng message sa isang neuron. Isipin na lang natin na itong neuron na to ay si Dean. Nung nangyari yung breakup, nag-send ng message si neuron Dean to another neuron which is si Zack to make an ordinary girl a prom queen. And ang napili nila is si Lainey Boggs. So, isipin natin na yung body part na gusto nating igalaw is si Lainey Boggs. And yung movement na gusto nating mangyari is yung transformation or makeover. And just like a neuron, Zack receives and synthesizes the message first before making a decision. Since hindi naman pwedeng partial firing ng neurons lang dahil sabi nga, neurons act in an all or nothing manner. So when neuron Zack decided to send the message, action potential happens. And ang action potential dito is yung pagpapursue ni Zack kay Lainey. And since action potential has occurred, a response happened which is the transformation of Lainey Boggs na nakita naman natin by the end of the film.
In conclusion, the action potential of nerve and muscle has been thought to arise from a transient breakdown of the polarized cell membrane. Production of action potential is required in most vertebrate neurons to neuronal excitation and stimulus evoke neurotransmitter release, both of which are involved in neuron-to-neuron communication. In understanding how neurons are able to communicate, it is necessary to describe the role of an excitable membrane in generating these signals. The basis of this communication is the action potential, which demonstrates how changes the membrane can constitute a signal. A neuron is a type of cell located in the brain that transmits information to other neurons through a junction called a synapse. The communication between neurons at synapses in our brains enables us to think and carry out behaviors.